Hello, world. Um, for this next episode of the podcast monitor, we are going to actually do the implementation for the feed parser. But the first thing we need to do is correct a few errors from last time. So the first error that came up was related to this date time now, and related to the fact that the when we are parsing the actual when we convert in here dt dot strp, when we convert this and we're using this format, we have here the kind of the time zone code, and this one doesn't have it. So the error that it throws us if we try to run the feed parser unit test, we see this can compare offset naive to offset aware. This being the offset naive, and this one that has the actual offset in it. So we need to fix that. And there's a few other bugs that are going to come up right after that. So we're going to fix all those bugs. So let's get started. And the thing that I kind of looked up for this error is, so you see here we have the TZ info, the now, the TZ info, and then it returns a date time. The problem is, even if we update the TZ info, or if we use .utc now, which realistically we should use this UTC now because the time that we're getting back from here is in UTC. Comparing those directly, this is still going to give the same error because the UTC is still offset naive. And the workaround for this is to actually use a from the date time a timestamp, which converts it to a float. And so convert this to a timestamp. So now we're just comparing two numbers, and those will compare just fine. This one we know is in UTC. This one's in UTC. And so this comparison will work perfectly fine. Now, if we run this, we'll see that we get, so here actually, I'm just going to commit this one first. Fixed offset naive versus aware issue in episode validation. So now here we run this, and we're going to get a key error for metadata, right? And so the feed here, right, needs metadata and needs an episode, and it's not getting. So right here it's saying in line 14 of the validate, get this key error. Where does this come from? All right, line 23 of our test. And the problem is, in line 23, we misspelled this. So we need to correct that. And run it again. And now we see here in the test on line 47, we get feed parser has no object get feed. So it's get feed here. And the reason for that is while we were doing the updates, we did not update that to get feed. So now we run it, and now instead of an error, we get a failure. The expected is not equal, and the expected is because we're getting a none is not equal to that. So let's just commit bug fixes, and we're good to go. And so now we can do this implementation, right? So this is probably the easiest part to implement here. We just need to basically create members of this class and save the requester in the parser, right? Well, actually, here's the problem with that is we could be passing in none, and honestly, passing in none is fine in the real case. So what we're going to do, but we could be passing in a test. So we're going to say the self.requester equals requester if requester is not none, else RSS requester. And then here, if parser is not none, else RSS parser, right? So basically, if we don't pass either in, we get the standard requester and the standard parser, but we could pass in, for example, the fake and that. And then so here, let's also do a quick validation. So we'll say, let me actually check something. So we'll say, we're going to use the same like if type. So if type self.requester not equal to RSS. Now this might not work. I have to test this out. This might not work with the inheritance, and in which case we'll have to just adjust it. But we'll raise a type error. Requester must be of RSS requester interface. And then here we're going to have another one, if type self.parser not equal to RSS parser, raise a type error, parser must be a RSS parser class. So now we could do a check. I'm just going to run this real quick because in here we're passing in the stub and the parser. And so let's see if that causes any issues. Yeah, so see, we get a type error here because it's not equal to that. And that's because we should actually be doing this. I think it's an is. I'm going to test it out. I'm going to just open up Python. I'm going to say import these two. And I'm going to say here, so right, the type, or so if I say R equals RSS requester, or I equals RSS requester interface. So here we have R, which is that object, and we have I, which is this object. The type of R, type of I, and so the type of I equals RSS requester interface is true, while the type of R is false. If we do this, oh no, I want, is it is implementation maybe? What is the, hold on, let's look it up. Python, check type against superclass is subclass. All right, so let's switch back over. Copy this. Switch back over here. Okay, so let's go. And I need to change the order of these. Type error, a subclass, arg2 must be a class. False. Oh, I think I need to do it in the other order. So I need to say type true, and if I do I, true. Okay, so this is basically what we want to use here. So I will exit this, and then I'll come over here and instead replace this in the type of self.requester. I'm going to do the same thing here, and this will be self.parser. And do that. Cool. So that puts all that in place. Run this again. Requester. Must be a subclass of ours. So it's still failing, even though the stub is a subclass of RSS interface. Stub requester. I'm going to come back in here into this Python. I'm going to go with that. And this. And R equals RSS requester. Update this to R, right? So that was true. And then, so let's come in here, let's grab this. This equals and then run this again with S. And so that's also true. Oh. And that was right. We were doing it right. Cool. Alright, so now you run this and parser must be a RSS parser class. And that's because we need to fix that. Cool. Okay, and now, okay, so now we're back to here. So we have all the elements in here. So we have the metadata, and so if we look at the metadata in here, we want the URL, so we can just access it through like that. So we can say metadata URL. And so we have the self.parser or requester dot get data, takes the URL, returns what does it return? RSS requester. So that says a string. Is this just a string here? Result from string. Okay, so these are all strings. So I'm going to update this to string. do this to string. Okay. So now if we come back into, so we close these all out. So we have metadata, URL. Okay, come on. Requester.getData. Okay, so returns a string. So we have that, and then we have the self.parser.parse, and this takes the string and returns a dictionary. Feed data, feed data, and then this is going to be d feed data, and then we need to create a feed. Okay, so let's look at the, look at the parser. So the parser returns this. So we want the episodes in here, and we honestly don't care about any of this at the moment. For any extra checks, we can think about adding those back in. And we want the metadata. So we basically want to create a feed. So we'll say return feed dictionary metadata episodes d feed data episodes. And add space there. And let's try it out. All right, so we get an error. Each element in episodes must be a class episode. Oh, okay, so we have, okay. So now basically the error we're running into is in feed here. It wants these to already be episodes. So this is already feed metadata. We have to turn this into episodes. So we basically need to say L episodes equals episode. Do I have episode imported? I do not. Feed from episode import episode. So here we say episode. This is going to take a dictionary, and this is going to be for D in D feed data episodes. So basically we're looping through this, putting into the episodes here, and then this just becomes L episodes. So we have this list of these episodes there. Okay, now we have the failure, and they're not equal. And then the reason they're not equal could be many things. It could be because we didn't override the equality method is most likely what it is. So let's just come in here into here, and just to verify that, let's come in and we'll say print parser dot get feed metadata, and we'll just do an inspection of this. Oh. We also don't have a print method in here. We don't have anything in any of these either, which would be useful and we could do in the future. But so I guess let's say feed equals parser dot get feed metadata, and then we'll say parser dot parser feed metadata name URL type, print these all out, and then for e in feed episode print e title description, date time, length seconds, key error episodes. All right. I'm gonna remove this for a second because it's really long. So we have all that information, Cooligans, 21, 15, 53. Yeah, so it looks like all this data is here, but it's just not equal. Because we don't have the equality method in there. So this looks like this is basically the implementation for this is correct. We get the feed data, we parse it into a dictionary, we convert all the episode dictionaries into episodes, and then we add the episodes in there. I'm gonna put a space there, and then if we want, so to do an actual equality, we basically need to add equal methods here. Right, so in here we were checking like specific values, right? Is this. The other thing we could do, verify exception raise. Oh, actually, so these are just doing exception raises. Just create. All right, let me check something real quick over here. I think there's also probably a hash function. Python override equals. So there's the redundant equal. And I'm sure there's probably a hash. Because that's the thing, right? Like we don't have a string, a repr, and equals. No one here is mentioning anything around to it. There's the not equals method. looks like it's probably good. Equal, not equal. So in Python 2, 3 no longer necessary. Greater than's, less than's. I think for what we want, we could just do the equals method. So we need to do it in all of them. So we'll start with the metadata, and we'll say def equal other object actually, I'm just checking real quick. So they're saying, because the one thing I want to just think about is the superclass, even though it doesn't really matter for this because we don't have any superclass subclasses, but I'm just curious into, does not solve all the problems, let's add a subclass, person, fixing the So the other thing we can do, so it looks like we can actually do, we could do is instance other self.class. So that's the class that we are here, so we don't need to do like the type of thing that we have. And self dict equals other dot. So it looks like if we want to check, like if we don't, unless we, like we can check each one of these individually, but it looks like this also does the same thing. I don't really like I guess the self.class, you know, I'm just gonna leave this. And so let's add that to episode as well. And I wonder, I guess we could just do it here maybe, and that would work. Let's try it out. Did I add in the assert back? Okay. So yeah, I mean, we could do more chat. Like we could, you know. What I'm guessing is if the episodes were also in a different order, it would probably fail. So we might technically want to sort these. Let me just check that real quick. So we'll go to, where do I want it? In parser, requester, feed parser. So I'm going to do L episodes dot reverse and see if it still passes. See, it does not. And so what we really should do is in here, because this is a list, technically, if we wanted it to pass, we could say other dot, I guess, what is it, sorted other equals k, was it key equals lambda x so other episodes equals the sorted of episodes, and then to sort them, I'm going to sort them by title. Lambda equals lambda x title. That's just a string. And then here I want self and self. Let's see if that works. No. Doesn't support item assignment. Oh yeah, of course. Okay. So we'd have to work out like a trick there, or we could, I guess we could just create a new one. We could say other 2 equals okay, so then basically I could say this other 2 and then create a new feed with a list of episodes. So I would say this is a feed, and we have metadata is other metadata, and then I say episodes, and that is going to be equal to the sorted of this. Get rid of that, and let's see, I think I can. Okay, so I can't do it in this one either. And so I would say I would have to do the same thing. Come in here, go self2, and this is going to be self, get rid of that. And now self2, other 2, and do that. And that passes, right? So I could just sort them. Now, that's because that's an interesting thing with Python I was actually going over recently where, for example, if you're looking at Python and you could say, and you have a list A, B, right? That is equal to a different list that has the same elements. What it is not equal to is a different list of the same elements that are in different order. Are those the same? I mean, depends on what you're doing. Some cases maybe. So if you sorted them, right? So if you said sorted that list, then it's true because now it's sorting the elements, right? And so I could do all of this, sort them. I can't reset them, so I would have to basically create like a sorted version of episodes and then do the comparison, and that's fine. But honestly, because we're only using the equality for the test and the data is already in the right order, we're not going to do that. So we're going to remove that, exit, failure. They're not equal. That's because we need to go back into the feed parser, get rid of this reverse, and then the test passes. Cool. So now let's commit all this stuff. All those equals. That's the implementation. And this last one is the requester. And that's just adding, what's the word for it? Python 3 annotations. I guess we'll just call them annotations. Okay, so let's commit all this. We'll say, let's add the RSS requester and the RSS requester interface. Git commit -m added return type annotations to requester and interface. Then let's add the episode, the feed, and the metadata. And with this one, this is just all the equals methods. So we'll say git commit -m created for the dictionaries. And the last thing we have is implemented feed parser ut passes. And then we can now, let's close this stuff out. And we come into here, we can now say that this is completed. This is complete. And the feed parser is now complete. Marked task and deliverable complete. All right, and so we look through here. We have basically completed all this stuff for this episode. What I'm curious about is, so we've obviously spent a lot of episodes here. So the last one we had was episodes 5 through 9. And then episode 10, we did all that and then added a deliverable. I'm going to check on that. Let me go git checkout, git branch, git checkout, data classes 007, git log 1 line, 10. Yeah, so the commit that we did for episode 20 was post merge. So let's git checkout, feed parser, wait. And then we'll say git checkout -b feed parser 008 merge. And then we want to get all the way back to here, where we created a skeleton for the requester class. So the question is, how many commits is that? Gotta keep going. 75. So I'm just using this to make it super easy. All right, so we're somewhere between 60 and 75, and that looks like it's about 10. And actually, it looks like it's pretty close to 60, so let's try 65. And now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commits we want to drop. Oh, so wait, was it 60? Created skeleton for requester class. Yeah, okay. So we did 60 commits with this. So we're gonna go git reset. Let me just check the branch. Git reset head 60. Git status. All right, so we have a lot of stuff in here. Git log one line dash 5. And so we'll say git add all, git commit dash m, and so we use the same merge feed parser dash 008. Episode 10, or no, I guess 11, right? Yeah, because episode 10 was here, and we have that on, and then we did everything in episode 11. So this is episode 11 through the first one that we have, which isn't this episode. So this is going to be episode 21. And then we're in episode 22, but we're still going to add the tag for that. So everything from episode 11 through episode 21 comes in here. And we're going to say created feed parser RSS parser, RSS requester, plus stub with tests. And we got the feed parser, RSS parser, RSS requester, the stub for it. We got all the tests for everything. Cool. So we'll commit this. We got the log. And so we'll say git checkout, or actually let's do the v branch. Main. And then we'll do git merge feed parser 008 merge. And back now, just do this. All right, so all those commits. So basically, instead of having that giant commit history, we have these first few episodes here, and then we have a commit for episode 5 through 9, because episode 4 was elsewhere. Then we have episode 10, and then we have episodes 11 through 21, and then we'll git tag episode 22. That is now our commit history there. So we have completed the feed parser. So now we have this whole box done. We have the output. And so we need to create a filter that will allow us to kind of, so we'll use all that to do different logic. We also have the unit test runner. So we have the filter and the unit test runner. I think we're going to tackle this one next to kind of clean up just the amount of files and add some structure there. Then we'll create the filter, and we should basically have a working, all the working logic done. And then we can start working using the Twitter API to kind of tweet it out. So I expect probably, hopefully just one episode here, maybe a couple on this one, and then we'll get right into the Twitter stuff. So yeah, that should all be good. And so until we work on that, I will see you.